in the locker room.
There's never been a team at Maryland, at LSU, and the Chicago Sky where she didn't have some sort of locker room problem with her teammates. People don't enjoy playing with her. Maurice, I do think this has a chance to be different because of her competition with Caitlin Clark. She's being offered, I wouldn't call it a layup, but she's being offered a chance to play on a team that's a championship caliber team.
What if the biggest WNBA storyline was never about competition, but about what was happening when the cameras were not rolling? Around Angel Reese. Insiders are now piecing together a timeline filled with locker room clashes, unexpected exits, and a rivalry with Caitlin Clark that may have driven more than anyone realized. The deeper you look, the harder it becomes to ignore.
A cancerous tumor. A cancerous tumor. Yeah, you know what the Chicago Sky decided to do? Cut said tumor out of their organization and ship it, put it on a cargo ship, and send it down to Atlanta. She's your problem now. For a ham sandwich and a bag of Pringles. I guess it's a can of Pringles.
The moment multiple WNBA analysts finally stopped being polite and started being honest, the entire narrative around Angel Reese flipped from misunderstood superstar to something far more complicated and possibly far more uncomfortable for fans who have been defending her every move without asking what was really happening behind closed doors.
We got our first trade of the season. Let's go. Angel Reese is being traded to the Atlanta Dream after 2 seasons in Chicago. Who do you think won the trade?
I mean, the only thing with Chicago swapping picks is next year's draft, aren't they eligible to be swapped their pick too?
With these trades, sometimes face value of trades, you're like, of course, this team won. But then you got to figure out who the picks are. So I feel like evaluating a trade actually is later down the line. Obviously, I think Atlanta wanted another big. They're sticking with playing the 2 bigs. They're going to put Angel Reese with Brianna Jones, who you love. You love playing against Brianna Jones. I love Bri Jones.
Because for 2 years, the public conversation has been carefully managed, filtered through highlight reels, social media confidence, and just enough controversy to keep everyone watching without ever forcing the league to confront. The bigger question is how a player can be this talented, this visible, and still leave behind a trail of locker room tension that keeps following her like a shadow that refuses to be shaken.
She can get a WNBA championship before Caitlin Clark. That's really going to enhance her brand, give her some standing around the league. And I think that opportunity may, for a short term, bring out the best in Angel Reese.
I think Angel Reese, listen clear. You better take full advantage of this opportunity with the Atlanta Dream. Okay, you are playing with Ryan Howard and Alicia Gray. They are all stars, 20-point per game scores. All you have to do is be the role player that you were born to be.
And then suddenly, the floodgates opened. Analysts sat down and started connecting dots that had been sitting in plain sight. And once those dots were connected, the picture that emerged was not flattering, not subtle, and definitely not something you can dismiss as coincidence or bad luck or just media narratives. Because the same pattern kept repeating across different teams, different coaches, and completely different environments.
Angel Reese's teammates come out anonymously and have a few things to say on her departure. Some of these quotes are brutal, it says. There has been so much apprehension between the team and her. Everyone is happy they don't have to deal with her various controversies, whether she brings on herself or otherwise. There is no love lost. And when Angel returns for a game with her new team, she will be the enemy, but everyone with the Sky is very happy she is.
That is usually where excuses run out. Because when one situation goes bad, you can blame chemistry, coaching, or timing. But when 3 completely different situations start telling the exact same story, it stops looking like circumstances and starts looking like a pattern that travels with the player. And that is where things get interesting, because the conversation did not just stay at locker room tension or personality clashes. It escalated into something much deeper, something that tied directly into her on-court decisions, her priorities during games, and most importantly, her ongoing rivalry with Caitlin Clark, which, according to where players pad numbers in competitive games, is the kind that happens when the scoreboard has already told a story when the outcome is decided, and yet one player is still on the court, chasing milestones. That only matters if you are trying to prove something beyond winning. Because according to the panel, there were moments during her time with the Chicago Sky when games were effectively over to blowouts that should have been about development or simply closing things out, and yet the focus shifted toward securing double-doubles, toward making sure the stat sheet looked impressive even if the scoreboard did not.
We have had the curtain peeled back on Angel Reese and how the Chicago Sky felt about her. And my goodness, wow. Her teammates were not having her anymore. They were done with her. The Chicago Sky were done with her. It's unbelievable. Yahoo Sports, Chicago Sky have officially parted ways with Angel Reese, shipping the star forward to the Atlanta Dream in exchange first-round draft picks in 2027, 2028.
And that alone might not sound like a crime in professional sports, because stat padding has existed as long as sports themselves, but the context is what made it explosive. The suggestion was that those numbers were not just about personal pride or performance bonuses, but about keeping pace with Caitlin Clark's numbers, are about maintaining the illusion of a rivalry that, on the court, was becoming increasingly one-sided. And that is where teammates started noticing, because nothing disrupts a locker room faster than the feeling that one player is playing a different game than everyone else, that while the team was handled, creating friction that did not just stay internal but started affecting how the team functioned during actual games. And then came the exits. When players begin distancing themselves, when they request trades or make it clear they no longer want to be part of the same environment, that is usually the loudest signal that something deeper is broken. The situation involving Marina Mabra became one of those signals because it was not just about basketball decisions or roster adjustments. It was about wanting out of what was described as a growing circus, a word that kept coming up as analysts revisited that period. And here is where the story takes another turn, because instead of things settling down in year 2, they reportedly escalated.
A good look for Angel Reese. She's still in her rookie season, not a rookie season. She's still on a rookie contract, and and they don't want anything to do with her. She's a cancer when it comes to the locker room. Angel Reese is all about Angel Reese. All right, hashtag Angel Reese drama. All right, there's drama follows her, and it's that star mentality. She thinks that she's a star. She was the number 7 pick, could have easily been the number 8 pick in the 2024 draft. And this is good news for Camila Cardoso.
The team experimented with using Reese in a point-forward role, a decision that raised eyebrows, not just among fans, but among analysts who questioned how a player with limited perimeter shooting and playmaking experience was suddenly being positioned as a central offensive initiator. It felt less like strategy and more like experimentation under pressure, as if the organization were trying to make something work that fundamentally did not fit. And when things do not fit in basketball, they rarely fail quietly. They fail loudly, visibly, and often with consequences that spill into the locker room. That is when the conduct issues started. By the time it becomes public, the situation is already beyond repair. And then came the moment that turned skepticism into disbelief. Because while the team was finishing out of its season, Reese was reportedly absent due to a back issue, which on its own would not raise suspicion, except for what happened next. She was seen traveling, enjoying herself, and presenting an image that did not align with someone sidelined by injury, which immediately created a perception problem that no amount of explanation could fully fix. In professional sports, perception often becomes reality.
Man, oh man, this Yahoo Sports article on this whole Angel Reese debacle is insane. It is insane. Apparently, the teammates wanted nothing to do with her going forward. And to be honest, I already said that. You know, it was a lot of like anonymous sources in this, which kind of be pushing me away. But being that I've been following this, I know there's certain things in here that it was obvious to see Ariel Atkins, regardless if they moved on from her too or not. She didn't want nothing to do with her.
And once that perception settles in, it spreads fast. It reached a point where analysts began asking a question that sounded almost absurd at first, but became harder to ignore the more you thought about it. How does a player achieve individual success early in their career, earn recognition, and still get moved by a team before their 3rd season without demanding a trade? That is not how teams usually operate. Organizations tolerate difficult personalities all the time if the production justifies it, if the player contributes to winning in a way that outweighs the complications. So when a team decides to move on quickly, and for what many described as minimal return, it sends a message that goes beyond Ryan Howard and Alicia Gray, players who know their roles, understand the system, and do not need another personality disrupting the balance they have built, which means Reese is not walking into a situation where she can redefine the team around herself. She is walking into a situation where she has to adapt. And that is the real question that the analysts kept circling back to, because talent has never been the issue. Rebounding, energy, physical presence, those things are not in doubt.
Angel Reese, I don't know who you pissed off to have this kind of an article about you here. Hold up. Let's pull it up. Let's pull this up. All right, look at the title. This is coming from Yahoo Sports. They were getting sick of her. Sky teammates reportedly celebrate Angel Reese's departure. Celebrate? They were celebrating that you left? Oh, no, you got to be a cancer to the locker room. Now, we already knew in 2024, you was just trying to outdo Caitlin Clark. All you cared about was your double-doubles. Let's keep it all the way real. You would be the only starter out there with like a minute left calling for the ball. Thank the Lord deliberately put an end to that foolishness.
The question is whether she can operate within a structure where she is not the center of everything, where success is measured by team performance rather than individual stat lines. History offers two very different outcomes for players in that position. There are players who adjust, who embrace a complementary role, and end up contributing to winning at the highest level. And then there are players who struggle to let go of being the focal point, who resist the shift and end up clashing with systems that were never built around them. The difference between those two paths often comes down to awareness. Not talent, not effort, but awareness. And in Reese's case, the added layer is the ongoing comparison to Caitlin Clark. It might involve doing something simpler and far more difficult at the same time, which is winning in a role that does not revolve around proving a point. If Atlanta succeeds, if they contend, and if they build something consistent, the conversation shifts naturally. But if the same patterns reappear, if the same tensions surface, if teammates start reacting the same way players did in previous stops, then the narrative hardens into something much more permanent.
Comes to, like, the Sky looking like they're about to sign Skylar Diggins. There is a headache that's involved with it, and you have to weigh up. And there's a headache that's involved with all of these, whether it's playing with the Fever, whether it's playing with the Sky, whether it's playing with the Wings. There's a headache involved in all of it. And the question is are you okay with the headache? Because if things are going badly, it's the worst place in the world to be. If things are going well, it's the best place in the world to be. And things, since about 15 games into a rookie season, things surrounding Angel Reese have been a disaster.
And perhaps the most intriguing part is that the spotlight is not going anywhere, especially with Caitlin Clark continuing to draw attention across the league. Every matchup, every comparison, and every stat line will be analyzed, discussed, and amplified, which means the narrative will keep writing itself in real time. And this time, there will be no ambiguity about what is actually happening. Atlanta is either going to be the place where everything finally clicks, where the talent aligns with the team, where the story shifts from controversy to contribution, or it is going to confirm everything the analysts just said, turning what used to be speculation into something much harder to ignore. Either way, the next chapter is not going to be quiet, and based on everything that has already happened, it was never going to be. What right now is still very real for Angel Reese if she approaches this situation with a completely different mindset than what defined her previous stops. The reality is that Atlanta does not need her to become something. She is not, and that might be the most important advantage she is walking into this new environment, because the Atlanta Dream already have a clear offensive identity built around perimeter scoring, spacing, and players who create their own shots without forcing the system to bend around them. This means Reese's path to success is actually simpler than it has ever been, but also far less forgiving if she chooses to complicate it.
Cannot get Rookie of the Year anyway, right? But then last season, y'all were terrible. And the way you threw your teammates under the bus after they had your back was literally disgusting. So I can see why they would celebrate, all right? But let's get into the article, though. They were getting sick of her. Sky teammates reportedly celebrate Angel Reese's departure. The Chicago Sky have officially parted ways with two-time WNBA All-Star Angel Reese, shipping the star forward to the Atlanta Dream in exchange for first-round draft picks in 2027 and 2028. Go ahead and mark it down. This reporter predicts that the Sky will be the long-term winners in that trade. Just about anybody can find someone whose field goal percentage is in the 30s and pads the old rebounding stats as a result of it. Oh man, they about to tear you apart, Angel Reese. What?
Her responsibilities are clearly defined, even if nobody says them out loud in press conferences or interviews, and they revolve around doing the things that made her valuable in the first place, which include dominating the glass, defending with physical intensity, and making quick, unselfish decisions with the ball instead of trying to control possessions in ways that do not align with her strengths. When players accept that kind of role, they often unlock a version of their game feels more efficient, more impactful, and far more sustainable over the course of a season. However, the challenge is not physical, and it never has been. The challenge is psychological because embracing a role means letting go of certain narratives, including the idea that every performance needs to be measured against Caitlin Clark or any other star in the league. And that shift is not easy for players who have spent years being the focal point of every team they have ever been on. It requires a level of discipline that goes beyond practice or preparation and extends into decision-making during the most emotional moments of a game. This is where leadership within the locker room becomes critical because players feel almost seamless compared to what she experienced before. At the same time, the external noise is not going to disappear, and in many ways it might get louder. Because every interaction between Reese and Clark will continue to be framed as part of a larger rivalry, whether it reflects reality or not. The media will highlight every stat comparison, every on-court moment, and every subtle gesture, turning routine games into headline material that invites scrutiny from fans and analysts alike.
Here it says, they were getting sick of her. Sky teammates reportedly celebrate Angel Reese's departure. Celebrate. This is wild work. This is wild, Angel. The Chicago Sky have officially parted ways. Let me blow this up a little bit. There we go. Okay. The Chicago Sky have officially parted ways with two-time WNBA All-Star Angel Reese shipping the star forward to the Atlanta Dream in exchange for first-round draft picks in 2027 and 2028. Go ahead and mark it down. This reporter predicts that the Sky will be the long-term winners in that trade. Just about anybody can find someone whose field goal percentage is in the 30s and pads the old rebounding stats as a result of it. Angel Reese does rebound. I'm not going to take that away. She definitely hit the boards.
That level of attention can either fuel distractions or sharpen focus depending on how it is handled. If Reese channels that attention into controlled aggression and disciplined play, she could reshape the narrative in a matter of months, because winning has a way of silencing criticism more effectively than any public statement ever could. First impressions in Atlanta will matter more than ever, not just in games, but in practices, meetings, and the small, unspoken moments that define team chemistry. This is why the early part of the season could be the most telling stretch of her entire career, because it will reveal whether she has internalized the lessons from previous experiences or whether those patterns were never fully addressed in the first place. Teams at this level do not wait indefinitely for players to figure things out, especially when the goal is to compete at a high level immediately. For Reese, that goes beyond statistics or individual accolades. If she embraces the opportunity with clarity and discipline, the conversation could shift. From locker room concerns to on-court impact, from controversy to contribution, and from comparison to identity. If she does not, then Atlanta will not feel like a fresh start, but rather a continuation of a story that has already been told too many times to ignore. And that is what makes this next chapter so compelling, because it is not just about what she can do, but about what she is willing to change in order to do it.